Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions concerning this watch. Today, we are discussing a lovely 2010 model year launch made in 500 pieces in red gold. From IWC, this is reference 5447-05. It is the Portuguese Tourbillon F.A. Jones, a flying tourbillon Portugueser named after the American founder of IWC back in 1868. The example you see right here was actually retailed in 2011. So, what do you get? Well, it's a relatively thin watch, as you can see in profile, at 11.5 millimeters thick. It is 43.1 millimeters in diameter, and from lug tip to lug tip, 50.7 millimeters, with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. So it's broad and flat, as Portuguese tend to be. Now you may ask, Portuguese or Portugueser? Well, Portuguese is how you say it in English, and Portugueser is how it's said in German, because Schaffhausen, Switzerland, where IWC manufactures, that is German Switzerland. Most Swiss watches are made in French-speaking, Francophone Switzerland. This one is in the northeast of the country, where they speak German. But the watch speaks to just about anyone. As you can see on my wrist of 16 centimeters circumference, it's broad and it's flat. Now I think my wrist is probably the smallest that should wear this, though it's not excessively broad from lug to lug. There is something about the shape of the lugs, and especially when the strap is still unbroken in right here, I feel like I'm at the limit of what looks right aesthetically. That said, with a concave bezel and a slim profile, it will slide easily under a dress cuff. The strap is high grade, as you can see, large rectangular scale alligator leather, matte finish black, a little bit of stuffing or bolstering to give it volume. We've got a sheer cut side that's been lacquered for refinement, calfskin on the bottom, IWC factory strap, no crimping, no gouging, brand new. The buckle, as you can see, with a combination of satin and polish externally. It is a single fold, friction fit deployant clasp. The case is simple, as with every Portuguese since 1939, since the very first. We have this lovely narrow case band with blended lugs. That is, they don't step out from the case. And we have a IWC Probus Scafusia crown, a good solid watch made in Schaffhausen, push-down crown, 30-meter water resistance, lug hoods polished, case back polished, bezel polished. You can see the bezel has a little vertical lip. It's very slightly inset from the case band. And then there's a concave profile before a super flat facet adjacent to the slightly boxed and domed sapphire. Now, the original Portuguese, or Portugueser, was conceived in 1939 at the request of two gentlemen named Rodriguez and Teixeira. And they were the Portuguese market importers of IWC. They wanted a wristwatch that was as accurate as a pocket watch because the size of a movement was the primary determinant of its precision, or its potential for precision, back in 1939. IWC's solution was to purpose-build the world's first purpose-built, oversized wristwatch around an IWC pocket watch caliber, and the Portugueser was born. Now, it was a very rare watch, as only about 600 were made through 1993 when it returned as a regular offering in the catalog. But despite its large size and infrequent production, it actually has a lot in common with another iconic dress watch of the period, the first Calatrava, as we retroactively call it, the Patek 96. Both featured blended lugs, leaf-style hands, small seconds, vertically arrayed Arabic numerals, and even railroad track scales for minutes. And that's what we have right here. A black dial with F.A. Jones's signature. We have small seconds in anthracite with sort of azurage or concentric pattern. It has its own little chemin de fer, or a railroad track scale. You can see we have the track, and there are little faceted indices outboard of the numerals. So we actually have a double index type setup, foy or leaf style hands, and then a beautiful satinated and polished beveled frame, a bezel within a bezel, you might say, around the flying tourbillon. Now, the flying tourbillon is handsomely decorated to a degree you don't commonly see on IWC watches. It's the best finished part of the watch, but if you're going to commit that level of energy to just one assembly, this is the place to put it. Now, it's free sprung. It has a fairly high beat rate for a tourbillon at 28,800 vibrations per hour. The free sprung architecture allowing it to be regulated very precisely. It's actually adjusted in a chronometer standard 5 positions. And you can see that not every tourbillon has shock protection on its balance staff, but this one does, and I love to see it. Turning it all over, you can see IWC caliber 98900 is absolutely enormous. So it's 37.8 millimeters in diameter, pocket watch sized, just like the original Portuguese calibers. We've got a 3/4 style bridge, pivot jewels set in golden chaton, little elements that pay homage to the pocket watch era of IWC watchmaking. Don't know how well you can actually see it, but we have this large swan's neck style click spring with an extensible click, another nod to the pocket watch era. And it's a very conventional train from the crown wheel to the ratchet wheel atop the barrel, center wheel, third wheel, fourth wheel. But then we get into a terminal end of the drivetrain that's kind of unique to tourbillon regulators. And you can see we have a little rose gold polished and blasted IWC Portuguese badge on the underside of the tourbillon cage. We have these lovely ripple-like Côte de Genève across the bridges. All of this manual wind with a 54-hour power reserve. It pivots on 21 joules, and it's water resistant down to 30 meters, but don't test the theory. You can see there is individual numbering out of the series of 500, which is sort of an unusual thing on IWC watches. They typically write something to the effect of 1 out of 500. The individual numbering is nice to see. The beveling is mostly mechanical in its execution, but handsome, neat, and worthwhile. We have solarization on crown wheel core as well as the ratchet wheel, satination on the wheels themselves, engine turning on the base plate, and polishing on the screw heads. So a good-looking watch in all regards. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.